Hey everybody, what's going on? Gestalt Education back for another year. We're going to start this year off right with letting you save some money. So two of our favorite people are the Core 360 belt and Human Locomotion, which is Dr. Thomas Schaud. So don't forget, if you use the code Gestalt for the Core 360 belt, you get $5 off all belts except for the Ohm Track sensors. So Brett, what are some of the Schaud's favorite, some of your favorite Schaud gadgets?
Well, I mean, he's got a trunk full of gadgets, but I think my favorite one definitely would be we use the Toe Pro quite a bit. The Toe Pro, and then I think the Varus and Valgus Post have really given people like a nice option if they're not want to take that leap into like a customized orthotic to kind of, a good option for the patient, but also to let them kind of like, bring the power back to the clinician to kind of decide where to post it. And so I think those are the two probably ones of Tom's stuff that I love. And of course, I can't get enough of his Human Locomotion. I mean, the book is still to this day pure insanity. So
beautiful. Yeah. Don't forget to use the code Gestalt on both those, the Core 360 belt and then also Human Locomotion. Links are in all of our podcasts. And we hope you guys like today's episode. All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Gestalt Education Show. We're back for, technically this is round 3 with the big king, Mark King. Today we're going to switch gears a little bit. If you missed the first true episode with Mark, we talked basically pure Motion Palpation Institute, future. We talked about the principles. We talked about everything you could ever imagine, which was amazing. It was great for me to kind of listen to you guys go back and forth about it and the future and those kinds of things. But today we want to break it down to a little bit more specific on, Mark, you have built a giant multidisciplinary practice. So you have got PTs, you've got multiple chiros, you've got massage therapy. It is true multidisciplinary, and it is amazing. Today was actually my first time being at Mount Lookout, and the stories are legendary. They're amazing. You built this great place, but so I want to know how the hell you built it. Was it always your vision? What's the future? So those are kind of our outline, but maybe just start off with, was multidisciplinary and this big of a practice always on the forefront of your mind?
It's been on the forefront of my mind for quite a while. I had this vision of having chiropractic and physical therapy and acupuncture and nutrition, functional medicine. And quite honestly, the functional medicine and acupuncture has been a struggle. The chiropractic's obviously been our foundation, and we've added some physical therapy, which clinically has been an outstanding benefit for our patients. But I had a vision for a long time, and when we were kind of busting at the seams at our old space. And then we started looking around for another space, and this place was too much or not big enough or not right for one reason or another. We finally found this place we're currently in. And then my brother and I started talking about kind of designing how we wanted it to be. And he's an engineer by trade before he became a chiropractor. So it was fun to kind of figure out how we were going to set the rooms up and, do all that. So anyway, I had the vision. It's been a little challenging at times. Obviously, anybody that tries to do something a little unique is going to get dinged up a little bit. So it's been a fun, interesting, and challenging past few years.
I think it's intimidating. I mean, like if you're, we have one of the Parker reps here, Austin, he walks into Mount Lookout, and in the back of his mind, he's like, how in the world do you create that? I think like an important message is, and we always tell our interns, like, it's not how this started. I mean, you started like, I was literally by myself, literally doing everything. Right. And then it's a slow grow.
I married a chiropractor, Donna Maloney, and we started together with this really sharp, our first CA, Jill Davis. She was awesome. She was with us for, let's just say 10 years. I can't remember exactly, but she was fantastic. And we got lucky on that. So it was the three of us, and we were going at it, doing our best job every day, best work we could do, learning, growing, the old Len Fay thing about keep learning, keep growing. And we kept trying to figure out how to build a better practice. And I would go meet with the other practices in Cincinnati, the guys that had big practices, and I would go to lunch with them. When they'd go on vacation, I could fill in for them. I would try and be around them. Our local chiropractic association, I was involved in that. I would be around. So I would just pick their brains and steal ideas from them. And they were very helpful. And in fact, several of them I just went to dinner with a few days ago. And they're quite frankly older now, and I'm older, but it was great to, we could reconnect a couple times a year, but they were a big help when I was early on. So to Brett's point, it was a little bit over a long period of time. And I just kept growing it and building on it.
And your square footage you have now is how much?
A little under 14,000 square feet.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a lot of space.
Yeah, we have a little 3,500, 3,800 is physical therapy, and then the 10,000 for the chiropractors, which sounds like a lot, but we have 8 chiropractors. So if you start dividing it up, it's not really as much as it sounds like. It's a lot when you look at it in the big picture, but you can. Our old office, we were about 4,400 square feet, and it was just obviously not enough.
And myself included, so many of us have leaned on you to give us advice rolling out. So, I mean, if you're a young student, you're about to start your own practice, let's just say, usually that's going to be like kind of in a strip mall setting. How much space do you think is required to start your practice?
Yeah, it varies a bit, but I would say in that 800 to 1,500 square feet, it's a pretty good range there, depending on what you do. I say keep your overhead low and keep your lease relatively short, and know that you're going to grow and you can move on to another space. We were able to grow within the space we were. We started off with 1,800 square feet, then later added 1,200, and then later added 1,400 or 1,500. I can't remember exactly, but roughly those numbers. So we were able to stay exactly where we were and just expand into the same building, which was nice. But I'm just saying that if you're starting your own practice, you hear this all the time, keep your overhead low. It's true.
Yeah.
You don't want to have that burden on you all the time, especially if you have student loans hanging over your head too. So I would advise you to keep the overhead low.
And then how much do you think your roles change? I mean, you went to the Harvard of chiropractic school's life, just joking. But anyways, you went to school, you learned how to be a decent chiropractor, and then now your role is probably different, right? I mean, I would imagine that you're still a great chiropractor. You're, one of the best chiropractors in the world, but you're also tasked with being able to manage people. So you probably didn't know going into all of this that actually you're going to be evolving into this manager of people. Can you talk about like who was there in your life to help you as far as like running a business, managing people, and you have great culture at Mount Lookout. You can feel it when you walk in. Like, what are the things that you do on a daily basis to get that culture the way that it needs to be?
Well, we work on the culture. I mean, it is something we work on a consistent basis. We have staff meetings, and we had our Christmas party earlier this week, and we had a great time. I mean, it was just a bowling party and a couple of beers kind of idea, but it was really fun because we have great people.
What'd you bowl? What number? What score?
I had a 139. I was a 119. A Sierra beat me at a 139. So
subtle brag.
Yeah, she beat me up, but 119, that's a brag?
Yeah,
that's terrible, dude. I have excuses. Do you want to hear about my... No. What were we talking about? We're talking about how it's...
Management.
So early on, I had a great mentor at Life College with Steve Garber. He was a chiropractor there. He was a hero to me. And then Len Fay was a hero to me. And then, then I just kept studying and kept reading. Even when I was a little kid, I loved to read about people who are incredible in their field. I mean, I was, 5 or 6 years old reading about Davy Crockett and these Leif Erikson, these heroes, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. I would read about these guys and their leadership skills, and I just kind of was attracted to that. I've always been attracted to these people that innovate and these people that are leaders. I mean, I read books about Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, who are weird dudes, but you can learn stuff about them. So I've always been attracted to that, the people that are incredible and outstanding in their area, not necessarily chiropractic, which... Yes, chiropractic, yeah, and I would, as I went along through practice, I would go to practice management classes. I would read practice management books. I was always kind of had a clinical book and a management book going at the same time. So I just kept working at it. And I say I worked at it, but it was kind of easy for me because I was interested. I was always good at learning when I was interested and terrible at learning when I wasn't. I mean, I think that's pretty universal. When I was interested, I really learned things. So I just kept studying and kept trying to grow as a leader. And now I still see patients 20 hours a week. So I love the clinical side. I love the leadership side. And so it's a great mix for me.
And Mark, you're in a situation like us. I mean, I have Taylor. We have such a good team in our operation, as you do too. When you have a room full of leaders, how do you lead leaders?
That's a challenge. And my biggest advice would be leave them alone.
Yeah, don't.
Meaning, you work on culture as a group, but I'm not, this is the way I always explain it. My docs in my office do not need me. They can go out. They'll be successful if they move to California or Minnesota or Florida tomorrow. They're incredible. So they don't need me. So I need to make it a good place to work. So when you're leading leaders, I would say, let them do their thing, and maybe they'll find a great niche within your practice. But if you try and micromanage really sharp people, they're going to be gone.
Right.
So I know your practice well, Brett, and I know the kind of people you have in there. And if you micromanage them, let's be honest, these guys, they don't need you.
Right.
So yeah, leave them alone. Give them help. Like Dr. Placeway will walk down and say, "What about this case?" or what? Great. I love talking about that. He's super smart. He's super talented, and I love talking about it. And he just wants to think about it out loud a little bit. And so that makes it fun for me. But what I'm saying is, I mentioned Dr. Placeway. I'm not telling him what to do on a day-to-day basis. He's doing his thing. And so he can, again, like I say, he doesn't need me.
Well, one of the new concepts in management is instead of having like a vertical hierarchy, you want to be thinking of your organization more of like a horizontal operation where you have multiple leaders. So you might know who's in charge, but it's really important to have the seminar that you and I went together that you recommended at Aileron. They talked about like how important like a direct report is, which means a lot of us have different facets of our office. So it could be a training operation. It could be functional medicine. It could be, medical doctors, whatever it might be. But those direct reports need to be, communicating with yourself. So how do you meet with these other, these other categories in your office, I guess?
In the end, everything comes down to communication, right? It's the same old story.
Whether it's your spouse.
Yeah, your spouse, whatever. It's always about communication. So I do stuff with my brother practices with me. That's easy because we're family. So we do stuff together. That's easy. My wife's, my wife. So that's easy. Although same bed. At 9 p.m., no more business discussion. But
put your CPAP machine on and go to bed.
not a CPAP. But the point is that, so the communication thing is where it's at. So, I like the docs in my practice. I like them personally. I mean, I respect them professionally, but just from a personal standpoint, I like them, quite frankly. So we'll go to lunch. Like I said, we had our Christmas party. We'll do a seminar together. We do some things together. And so that makes it easier. So you kind of stay connected. But let's say we weren't able to do that. You still have staff meetings where you come together and talk things over, or you have an all doc meeting. You only have the docs there, and then your CAs are having their own meeting, doing some kind of training. The connection thing is what I'm trying to say. And what you mentioned about the not having a vertical leadership, that ties in with the idea that each one of our docs, and for that matter, DPTs, kind of has their own practice within our practice is a good way to describe it. We're all employees of the corporation. That's fine. That's just accounting stuff, legal stuff. But they're running their practice within our overall practice.
And then what do you have to do? I mean, one thing I learned from you, and actually we preach this at our offices, how do you guarantee that Mount Lookout Chiropractic is still here 100 years from now? Like, so what are the things that are in place to make sure that is going to happen?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind, that's a really great question, is, first of all, you can't guarantee, but you're trying. And you can't have rigidity. So what happens to a lot of, this is what I tease Brett and Corey about, when I become the bitter, rigid old man, you guys have to move me out at MPI. So I don't want to become the rigid old man of the clinic. I'm still learning. That's one of the nice things about surrounding myself with these incredibly smart people at my office. The other docs are super smart. I learn stuff from them all the time. I'm always evolving. I'm still we had a class today with Dr. Winchester teaching, and one of the things today, he mentioned that he was not burnout and he was actually getting more enthused. And so for me, I'm actually getting more enthused. I'm reading some stuff now and I'm getting even more interested in what I'm doing. It's I can't believe. It's I'm still trying to become the best chiropractor in the world. I'm not there yet. I'm still trying, and I keep studying and trying to get better. And I did that class today. I learned a bunch of good stuff that I'll be using next week tomorrow. I'll be using it in my next day in the clinic. That's cool stuff for me. So I have no idea what your question was, but
it was a good tangent.
I just went off on a tangent, and that's just what happens sometimes.
I mean, I know this answer, but I think everybody would love to hear this. So, what books have you leaned on? Like, who are the people in the world in business management that have really kind of changed your life?
Okay, so I go in cycles. It's embarrassing to say it, but like I love Brene Brown. I mean, she's just like awesome.
Vulnerability,
yeah, just the whole vulnerability thing. That was a hard thing for me. And then I'm on a Ryan Holiday bender these days.
You are, yeah,
yeah. and
I am too.
Yeah,
I
I just have been eating his stuff up. And then you mentioned aileron. I was part of a Kevin Christie. He's a chiropractor in Florida. He did a master class. I was part of that this past year. So 4 times I went to Florida to hang out with a bunch of super successful offices, super smart dudes and dudettes that just we would have a different speaker. I mean, I was one of the speakers once, which was a really cool thing. I actually learned more than anybody in the audience did. So that was really fun. But we had these great speakers, and just to hang out time after class, we'd go have a beer or whatever and talk to these guys who are just trying to do a good job, who are really bright, and it makes you try, well, if they're doing this way and it's really working well, I'm going to start doing that this way. So we learned a lot of things, and I can tell you and Brett knows this, from a return on investment standpoint, boy, that master class that mastermind class was that well worth it. Okay. So I would tell you, I was talking to Jason Hume about it, and he was talking about putting a mastermind class together. He's in Tennessee, this super sharp guy down in Nashville, and he was talking about putting a mastermind class together. Well, he's going to get a lot of benefit out of getting around a bunch of other smart guys. So I would say, surround yourself with other super smart people, and you will rise with those other great clinicians and clinics.
I remember when we were at that seminar. So Mark is like, you've got to come to this seminar. It was, this place would you call it a business school?
Kind of a small business school, so to speak.
And so, we're sitting down. I actually, typical, I'm kind of like thinking of a reason why I can't go. And then finally I'm like, I think we should go. So we go, and I'll tell you what, like that changed so much. I still have my notes that I go back. We talked about the direct reports, how important that was. Admittedly, I actually wasn't even good at doing staff meetings at that point. And I think I realized the power of a staff meeting. The other really important thing we learned that day, it was a 1-day seminar. Do you remember them telling the stories about customer service and how important, that value added is? I remember there was a landscaper there.
Yep, I remember him.
And the landscaper was saying, every time I do this major project, I make it a point to find something that these customers want, but they can't afford. And then I just do it for them. And then, it was so cool. And then cause it really didn't cost him any extra money. It was just a value add. So in this world now that we see, especially in Western medicine, where we love to tell patients no, we love to, shove a glass door on them, just kind of a cold environment. How important do you think it is for our chiropractic offices to really embrace customer service in a time where customer service has basically gone away?
So if you make your office a different experience than what they've had in other offices, so I get a lot of times I'll get a compliment when I have them back in my treatment room, they'll say, well, your front desk was so nice or smart or whatever. And they're caught off guard by how the front desk maybe follows through on what they said they were going to do, and they get them in appointments when they needed to get in. They figure out a way to help them. So that idea that they're constantly trying to help them, that people love that, and then they're locked into your clinic for forever.
Well, and I mean, the healing begins when the patient walks in, right?
That's so.
We walk in your clinic today; they didn't know who we were. And your front office staff was amazing to us. I'm sure they thought we were a potential patient or whatever. So you could tell that, somebody at some point has worked with these people on, you're greeted with a smile. Everything is, very polite and things like that. And I think it's almost glossed over, and you just don't see that much anymore. And, cause a lot of times too, honestly, in our world, the patient actually might be spending more time with the intern potentially or our CA. So, every cog in that freaking engine has got to be on point to have that that experience where you're just like blown away, like, because we always talk about, like, I mean, if you're given a world-class service and then, oh, by the way, you're giving world-class customer service, I mean, you are just like making, the stars are starting to align for great results.
That's that moments of truth. Like if the front desk person, you come in and they're rude. It's like, okay, well, I'm already off to a bad start here. One of my favorite business consultants is a guy named Tom Peters, and he has gone bonkers over the last few years over the customer service experience.
Oh, God, yeah.
And it was great. Like he said, okay, you're going to do a staff meeting. You've got to set time aside. I figured this out a few years ago. No, I didn't figure it out. He told me, I read it in one of his books, and he basically said, you need to set time aside to get prepared to go into that staff meeting. Because I always kind of would walk into the staff meeting and just try and wing it because, I'm busy. We're all busy. Now I have time. Every time we're going to have a staff meeting, I set time aside and get myself organized about what we're going to do. And that was really helpful for me because it makes my staff meetings much less stressful, and they're not just complaint sessions. They are productive, and they're in our office, they're relatively relaxed. I usually have an educational video or even a silly video or something that we can kind of learn something from, and then we go through stuff. We have a whole kind of a system, but I set the time aside to prepare for it. And so he emphasizes training over and over and over again. The Navy SEALs go crazy on training, right? They're not running a mission every week, but they're training every week. So when the mission comes up, they're ready. So we're constantly trying to train. And one of the messages on training is you have to set the time aside or it will not get done. If you don't set the time aside, I'll get to it later.
Right. Prioritization.
Yeah.
And like Tom Peters says, and you turned me on to him, and they've seen the video at my office. Like, I feel like I play it over and over again, which is his excellence is in the next 5 minutes.
Yes,
like,
that's
so,
awesome.
I mean, like what and how I do it in my mind is when I walk into the patient, Brett, how would you rank your encounter with a patient? Was I 10 out of 10 today? Was I a little bit off? Like some days you're just off for whatever the reason. Maybe they're in a bad mood, but like just, getting win after win after win throughout your schedule, whether you're helping them or not, but just, that interaction with the patient and ranking it, I always do it to myself. Was I 10 out of 10 in that moment? And I think like that is, people don't like bring it down to like a microscopic level like that. But I think it's actually a really, really important point because we see difficult people, especially like if you're Mark King, my guess is you're seeing complex cases. These are difficult cases that, that not everyone can see. So it kind of beats you down a little bit. So I think like these intangibles that no one talks about in practice can be vitally important.
And you've talked about in your class a lot about the whole present time consciousness, an old Parker concept that when you go in the room, if the patient at least knows you're in the room with them, that goes a long way.
Right.
For they know you're at least trying. You might be sitting there, Mr. Jones, I have no idea. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do with you. I mean, whatever. If they know you're trying, it goes a long way. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but I'm making the point that sometimes you don't know exactly what to do with Mr. Jones. But if Mr. Jones feels you trying, that goes a long way. So that present time consciousness, it's an old Parker concept, and it is so accurate. I just love that idea. From a marketing standpoint, there's your number one marketing tool. Right. When you're in that room, does that patient know you're in the room with them? Because if they don't feel it, they're not sending their sister and brother in. Mm-hmm.
And the theme that we work on, I know you do too, is like your staff doesn't think about it this way, but what we work on is, okay, if you're at the front desk or you're our back office CA or you're a trainer, whatever it might be, if you are the best in the world in your position, what does that look like? And it kind of like flips the switch a little bit to say, well, if I'm the one who's collecting money and I'm the best in the world at collecting money, what does that look like? Well, you're not going to let somebody, get out the door without, collecting their money or not scheduling them appropriately. Or if you're the best in the world at greeting a patient, did you greet him with a smile? The old Ritz-Carlton, did you greet him by their name? All these little things that no one ever talks about, but to run a really good business, I think are like vitally important.
One of the things to follow along those lines, your staff finds it, they like that you're good to them and all that, but they also find it interesting that like we have brought in these this instructor from St. Louis to teach us. That all our chiropractors were in the class. We bring other people in. You guys know the people that we bring in and they know we're going and taking classes. We know we're going and teaching classes. They're impressed that we're trying so hard to be the best in the world. So they're proud of their doctors, and the patients feel that too. And I know the same applies in your office. But my point is that this constant striving, I always talk about it from Len Fay, because he talked openly about the idea that you're always going to try and learn more, always try and get better, and always try and improve. And if you're doing that, your staff likes that, and your patients like that you're constantly trying to improve. They like that you're going away to either take a class or teach a class or whatever. So the constant improvement, that's what I wanted to say.
And both of you, I know you know who Daniel Pink is, this big business management guy. He wrote a book called Drive. And what I always tell my employees, I just 100% expose this. You think the most important thing in your employment is financial. Mm-hmm. He actually ranks at number 3. Actually, the most important thing that would determine whether or not your employees are happy or not, number 1 is appreciation. So that is as simple as like, and we get so busy, but like, I try to make a concerted effort. I know you do too, of like, and Taylor, you're actually really good about this. Taylor will walk around the office and tell people, yeah, you are so great in this particular moment. And like, as an employee, that means so much. I mean, and the second thing is career trajectory, which we're back to like leaders, managing leaders, which is, you have to be paying attention to your team's, their career. I have to be paying attention to Taylor. Like, so number 2 in Daniel Pink's is career trajectory, which means I'm paying attention to what, where are you at right now? I, in the back of my mind, know what Taylor wants in the next 5 years. So am I able to deliver the goods for him in that world? And then number 3 is financial, but everyone thinks that financial is number 1. Sure. It's actually not. So, any thoughts on that?
So one of the things we've decided years ago, actually it was based on my cousin who was trying to figure out what he was going to do with his career. And he was working for us as a CA, and he was going to either go to med school or osteopathic school or chiropractic school, or he was going to go to business school. He wasn't sure. But the dude was super smart. He could learn anything in 2 minutes. And we're like, wow, we know he's going to dump us and move on. But wow, it sure is nice to have somebody that smart. And he knew it was a transitional job. So I said from that point, and I said it to my wife who does most of the work with the CAs, I said, we should hire smart people. We know they're going to dump us. It's okay. They're way easier to teach. They learn our EHR in 5 seconds. They know how to they can do anything fast. So we said, hire. And then what's happened over the years is we hire, like, we have one now who's in nursing school. Well, she's going to dump us here I don't know how long, 9 or 10 months from now. But she is wonderful to have in the office right now. She's just she's a great personality, but she's also, her name's Megan, but she's also just learns everything fast. I mean, she's going to be a nurse. She's smart, but she'll dump us. That's okay. So it was almost like you can't have, the line was something to the effect of 6s will ruin your business. Meaning if you have a 10 out of 10 employee, that's 9 out of 10 employee, that drives your business up. A 6 drags your business down. We don't want any 6s. Now, you're going to have them until you figure it out and whatever. But this Megan, who's a 10 out of 10, unfortunately eventually dumps us. But it's actually best for her.
Well, on that point, I always mess up your story, which is so good, or your quote. What is it that when the person's talking about we can't afford to train everybody?
Oh yeah,
yeah. What is that?
So the I screw it up too, but the CFO says, well, what if we train these people and then they leave us? And the CEO says, well, what if we don't train them and they stay? That's right. I butchered it a little bit, but the idea is that, it's not just nickels and dimes today. It's the long-term kind of plan for this.
Is there any you got the obvious ones like the Starbucks and things like that. Is there any, and I know you're a Jim Collins, Good to Great fan.
Yeah.
Of these companies that are out there, is there any company you're trying to emulate from, it doesn't have to be obviously a chiropractic company, but is there, or practice, what company do you like? Some of the stories that you hear from a customer service standpoint or a management standpoint?
Well, okay. So it's not what you would think. I really look at some of these chiropractic offices and these multidisciplinary offices and see what they're doing well. Like, not to embarrass you guys, but I study what you guys do at your office. You do some things I think better. I won't tell you what they are, but you do some things better than we do at our office. We can discuss that later. But what are some of the little things that we could steal from your office? That was why I went to this mastermind class. These guys, some of these guys are, they're all smaller offices, quite frankly, than my office, but they're doing a lot of things right, and I can steal ideas from them. So the idea, my point on that is that I don't have to look at, Apple. Although I like some of the things they do there with trying to make things fun and whatever, or that was more Facebook, but you get the point. And even like I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. If you go to the grocery store here, the main grocery store is Kroger. And the thing about Kroger is you go in there, and I'm allergic to shopping in any way, shape, or form, but once or twice a year I have to go into a grocery store. I don't like to, but when I go in there, I'm always amazed. I'm exaggerating, but my point is I go in there, it's clean. The people generally are friendly. It's well lit. It's all the things that Jim Collins talked about in that Good to Great thing. It's like, yeah, our office can't be dirty. It has to have the proper, if we have a light bulb out, you got to fix it. I used the example. I got to this gym, and they had a clock that had the same time. It was broken for like a year. Like I would have had a heart attack over that. I would have at least taken it off the wall and thrown it in the garbage. I mean, a new battery? I don't think that's that hard to do. So I could not tolerate that. So I took a really long detour on to answer your question. I look at a lot of these chiropractic offices because I try to relate to it with my own, and I can steal good ideas from a lot of good offices, including you guys. That is helpful for me.
And what, like in the age of automation and things like that, I feel like these younger generations, they're pulling off like literally having zero overhead. They're scheduling their patients. People are paying like with their phones and things like that. Do you think that's kind of the future where you have you're driving overhead down by having less staff? I feel without my staff, I can't function. I'm literally paralyzed. But is the future basically no staff? People are online booking, and is that where it's all headed, do you think?
Well, I know that you want to try and minimize the staff as best you can, because if they're sitting around, what happens if you have too much staff is they start getting on each other's nerves.
Right.
And then they start butting heads. So you don't want too much, but I don't like the idea of losing. I don't want to lose the personal touch. In the end, we are humans. We do want a personal touch, that we do want the connection. My patient comes in the front door, and I tell you that front desk person's nice to them. They go back, maybe they get some traction or something, and Lydia or Pamela's nice to them back there. They look forward to going and seeing them. There is something to that human touch. So there's a middle ground there. I know what you're asking is, are we going to, I don't think it has to be all of one or the other, but we are constantly analyzing how can we decrease our overhead, and less staff is one way to do it. But I just don't want to lose that personal touch. I worry about losing that personal touch because people want that.
What does the meetings look like at Mount Lookout? Are you doing specific doctor meetings weekly or monthly, and then you're bringing everybody together for a monthly meeting? What does that all look like?
So one weekend a month we have an all staff meeting. One Wednesday a month we have an all staff meeting. One Wednesday a month we try and have a doc meeting. Sometimes I just do the DCs, and sometimes I do all doc. One Wednesday per month we call it Workout Wednesday. If it's nice outside, we take a walk down to the river or whatever, take a little walk together, chat it up, and then come back, stop by Starbucks, get a coffee or a tea or whatever, and then come on back. And one Wednesday per month is just off. And what happens is, if the schedule gets kind of screwed up, then we spill over that meeting into that off Wednesday. So that's the 4. So it was all meeting, doc meeting, and while the docs are meeting, the CAs are meeting for training and whatever. And then we have a Workout Wednesday, and then we have open.
And Mark, you're one of the most organized human beings that I've ever been around. We always joke, you have replied to an email before we've even sent it. What is your daily, first of all, do you use like a handwritten planner? Do you use like automation for your planner?
Well, now
how do you organize yourself?
I now use my calendar on my phone. It took me a while to make that.
I know.
I had a little handwritten calendar for a long time. And honestly, I did love it. A buddy of mine, after an aileron class, we went to lunch and he was making fun of me for not switching over to my phone. But I mean, I don't remember how long ago that was, 8 years ago or 6 years ago or whatever, last week. No, just kidding. And, but so I know where I'm supposed, like tomorrow I'm going to get up and get cleaned up and I'm going to go to the office. So I know where to go and then my patients are scheduled and then, I can kind of go from there. But yeah, I just use a calendar on my phone I do want to be organized. If you're more, the whole idea of discipline is destiny. That's another Ryan Holiday. We've on my Ryan Holiday bender. His latest book is Discipline is Destiny. So the discipline saves time. The consistency saves time. I'm not perfect about it by no means, but I'm trying to be. And it just saves me time. I literally set my clothes out the night before. So when I get up in the morning, I'm a little groggy. I take my shower, the clothes are laid out. I just get up and put them on and go.
And I think too, one of the reasons Mark is, definitely my biggest mentor and so many of us is because you actually practice what you preach. You eat well, you have a great marriage, your family life is great. You work out every day. So, how important do you think those other things are to your success that you've had with your practice?
So what happens is, if I don't feel well, I don't have any energy, and then then the day becomes hard for me. I do a lot of these things selfishly because it makes it more fun for me because I feel good and because I have energy through the day, and then that makes it more interesting and more fun, and then it just builds on itself. If I was to get out of that pattern, like if I am not feeling well. We've all had a cold and gone to work and, kind of you get through that day. Well, what if that's how you felt kind of routinely? I don't want to feel tired like that. So a lot of my stuff is selfishly so I can feel physically good so I can make the day more fun. And, so that's where part of that consistency comes from. And honestly, some of it is luck. I happen to marry a good gal. Donna has been, that's been great. And I happen to get lucky on my kids. I like all them and at least I think they like me. And, I did get lucky on a lot of that stuff, but the stuff that I don't have to depend on luck, I can, I try and be consistent and I like it. My day is just more fun and interesting if I feel energized. That's a good way a calm energy. If you wanted me to say what would be my mantra when I get up in the morning, it would be, I would like to have a calm energy today. Because I did martial arts forever. And one of the things they taught you is when you get mad at your opponent, you're weaker. They're at an advantage. I didn't want to be the angry guy. I don't scream at my CAs. I don't want to lose my temper with my CAs. Of course, they make mistakes and I get frustrated. Big deal. I still don't have to embarrass them. I still don't have to yell at them. We can go back to the training. And if you hire good people on the front end, then it'll work out. Yeah, I know. I get a little long-winded on some of these.
That was beautiful, guys. I think we've covered pretty much everything. That was perfect. Daily habits, how you built it. Maybe what's the future?
Well, I'm still doing what I'm doing. I want to try and work a little less going forward. So I want to work a little less. I still want to see patients. I still want to teach for MPI. I want to just do a little bit less of everything, the visionary stuff for the office. So the future is, I told my staff I was going to reevaluate when I was 75 and kind of see where I am at that point. But really, in all honesty,
next year,
yeah, thanks. But since I feel good, what's the big deal?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I keep surrounding myself with young, smart people that I learn from. So, as long as it stays interesting, then I'll just keep kind of doing this. I like it. So why not?
Beautiful. Brett said it, but you're a mentor to so many. You're a mentor to me, to Brett. I know that your fingers are on a lot of different offices in the world that are very impressive and a lot of different doctors. And so me personally, I'm appreciative of it. Obviously joking about the 75. I know you got at least another 30 good years in you because you're never going to die. There's no chance.
For the record, I'm 63 now.
That's right. So
Taylor just thinks that's old.
No way. Well, I turned 30 this year, and I felt that was really old. So
That's a big one.
I know. Yeah. So
Is it creepy that Taylor's 30 and I'm 63? We're going to go have dinner together now, and what the hell?
For me, was creepy. Pete, our latest associate, he's 26, I think.
Yep.
Pete feels like my age, like I'm hanging out with Pete, and then I'm like, you know what? My God, I could be Pete's dad. And that's like, and I'm 45, and I'm like, wow, this is like this.
You basically are Pete's dad. So let's just keep
let's
it going.
Be honest here. Well, speaking of dads, I always say Mark is I got a freaking awesome dad, but like Mark's my chiropractic dad. You always got your people.
Thanks for making me feel old.
Yeah, you got your people that you always like. If I have a really difficult problem, the one person in the world I'm going to is Mark to be like, what, how do I reconcile this in my practice? Or like, things are just kind of getting out of control with all the stuff we got going on. Like, how do you, tighten this all up and manage this? And he's never once let me down. He always just gives the most sound advice every single time, which I think that is a testament to a great mentor, actually.
That's right. Mark, if people have questions or want to reach you other than seeing you when you teach for MPI and stuff like that, do you have any other resources that people can reach out to you?
Oh, yeah. Our office website is mountlookoutchiro.com. My website is DRMKING. It stands for Dr. M. King at mountlookoutchiro.com. MTLOOKOUTCHIRO.com. I know that's too long, but and then motionpalpation.org, I can be reached through that. And those are the easiest ways. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, but I don't
social media savant.
I don't do a ton on that. I'm not going to lie.
You spend more time on Twitter than you like to admit, though. I mean, I see you going.
Occasionally, I like to retweet some of the things that I read, but that goes in waves.
Yeah, that's right.
I just happen to be reading and I say, that's a good one. I'll just share that one.
That's right. Well, beautiful, Mark. I appreciate the insights today. I appreciate you building Mount Lookout. I appreciate you being the beacon for chiropractic, and continue pressing forward. And hopefully one day Winchester Spine and Sport will be Mount Lookout, right?
We can only hope.
We can only hope. So anyway, guys, I hope this was an insightful conversation. Number one. Number two, keep pressing forward to your goals. If you see yourself having a giant multidisciplinary practice like Mark, I know that some of the habits and stuff that he has established day by day for the last however many years is what's gotten him to this point. And so start habit stacking and start working on those little things, and the rest is kind of history. So good luck with patience. Good luck building this practice, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, guys.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Gestalt Education Show. If you liked it, share it, subscribe to it, send it to your friends, send it to someone that needs to hear this message. We really want everyone to be able to tune in and get the best clinical advice that they can, which we're hoping that we're giving to you with these special guests. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, or if you have any suggestions on upcoming conversations, let us know. For a list of our upcoming courses, we're adding them all the dang time. So go to gestaltedu.com, click on courses, and they'll all be right there for you. All right, have a good day.